नागेश्वराय नागेश्वराय शिव नागेश्वराय नीलकंठाय शिव नीलकंठाय नीलकंठाय शिव नीलकंठाय हर हर बोले नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय हर हर बोले नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय हर हर बोले नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय हर हर बोले नमः शिवाय। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा 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 श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा हे बद्री नारायण वासुदेवा हे बद्री नारायण वासुदेवा हे बद्री नारायण वासुदेवा हे बद्री नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। हे लक्ष्मी नारायण वासुदेवा हे लक्ष्मी नारायण वासुदेवा हे लक्ष्मी नारायण वासुदेवा हे लक्ष्मी नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। एकमात्र स्वामी सखा हमारे, एकमात्र स्वामी सखा हमारे, भूलूं ना मैं कभी नाम तुम्हारा, भूलूं ना मैं कभी नाम तुम्हारा। निष्काम होकर मैं दिन रात गाऊं, निष्काम होकर मैं दिन रात गाऊं। हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा, श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी। हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा, श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी। हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा 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 कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण। गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा 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 कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोविंद गोविंद कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद, हे गोपाल राधा कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद।
Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together, and what a beautiful, beautiful and special day. This day that celebrates the marriage of Bhagwan Ram and Sita Ma. And as I was saying in Hindi in the Ganga Arati, to me something that's so beautiful about it is, aside from the divine aspects and the divine elements, even if that's not something that you subscribe to, they embody this teaching of how, even as householders, even as married people, how to live by the fullness of Dharma and how to attain that moksha or liberation. Because one of the questions that people ask so frequently is, do we have to leave everything in order to get enlightened, in order to be free, to be spiritual, do we have to leave everything behind and give up family and give up job and give up this or give up that? And when we look at the marriage of Bhagwan Ram and Sita, when we look at how they were, again, if you take Bhagwan Ram as divine, beautiful, but even if you don't, he's this embodiment, and with Sita Ma together they are these embodiments of really the way to live. Whatever your role may be, whatever phase of life you're in, whatever aspect of life you're in, good times, the prince about to be coronated, bad times, being sent off into the jungle with nothing, kind of whatever life throws at you, whatever relationships, whatever roles, how to live that phase of life totally anchored in Dharma, in truth, in righteousness, so that that aspect of life, even if you are a wandering mendicant with nothing, because you've been kicked out of the palace, whatever role you're playing, how to play it as the divine would. And so it's really just, it's a beautiful opportunity to not just celebrate something that happened thousands and thousands of years ago, but more to really take the message into our lives. So a very happy Viva Panchami, this day of the marriage. I wanted just also to mention that today, I didn't have time to go into all of it in the Arati, as we had this very, very sacred hoisting of the flag at the Ram Mandir. But today is also another really beautiful day that is definitely worth mentioning and definitely important, in honor of a very beautiful and very divine spiritual master who walked the earth many years ago, named Sadhu Vaswani. His mission, the Sadhu Vaswani mission, and especially his successor, Dada J.P. Vaswani, who left his body a few years ago, started this day as a celebration of going meatless, that it's like the meatless day. And it's so interesting because they did it on a day that some years actually falls on Thanksgiving in America. So it's a really kind of interesting paradox where on the one hand people are celebrating Thanksgiving by killing God knows how many turkeys, billions of them. And on the other hand, people are celebrating the day in honor and loving memory of an incredible enlightened master who taught us how to walk this planet peacefully, compassionately, with love. And so they've been celebrating his birthday as the day of going meatless for certainly as long as I've known them, for decades. So it's also a really special day. And if you are a vegetarian, wonderful, Mother Earth thanks you. But if you're not, it would be a wonderful day to just say, oh, I wonder what would happen if I went meatless for a day. How I'd feel, what the ripple impact on the planet might be, and just giving yourself an opportunity to align with teachings of sages, of saints, of yogis, of mystics who emphasized walking compassion. And of course, today we know that the meat industry is the single greatest contributor to global warming, one of the greatest causes of global hunger, one of the greatest causes of our depletion of the planet's water resources. So it's also a very special day to celebrate Sadhu Vaswani and Dadavaswani and going vegetarian. So, with all of that, a very happy multitude of specialness for the day to all of you. And we start with one of the questions that's come in advance from our family online, and then we open it up to everyone here. How do I know when I should say the way that I feel to someone, or when is it better to be quiet and let things go? This is asked by Sabine on Instagram. How do we know when to share with someone the way that we feel, or when it's better to be quiet and let things go? So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Krishna emphasizes a beautiful teaching that righteous speech, dharmic speech, yogic speech fulfills 3 criteria. It must be true, but it must also be kind and beneficial. So if, for example, you have something to tell somebody that you want to share with them that maybe they're not going to digest quite so well, but in addition to being true, you feel like it is beneficial on a deep level, either to them personally or to your future of a deep relationship with them, and that it is kind, because again, even though it may be hard for them to digest, it's kind to their growth, and or it is kind to your relationship. If it fulfills all the criteria, say it. But I would plan in advance. There are lots and lots of great teachings around nonviolent communication, conscious communication, how to say things in such a way that people can hear them. Because otherwise, when we're saying something that people can't hear, we may think it's kind and beneficial. But if someone just takes offense and reacts, we haven't achieved anything. We haven't helped them. We haven't helped our relationship. All we've done is created a rift between us. It's served no purpose. So really make sure that your way of communication is conscious. And, you know, I had a very interesting experience with this when I first came to India. Because for me, what pulled me here in India when I came was God. I came, I stood on the banks of Ganga. I had this incredible experience of being in the presence of God as I looked out over this sacred river. And that's why I stayed. I then had the incredible blessing of meeting my guru, Pujya Sadhviji. And that's for me really why I stayed. The seva, the work, the opportunity to be of service was a huge added bonus. But the real thing that grabbed me and pulled me out of my very set life into this was the spiritual experience. But every time I tried to explain that to my parents, what they heard was not God or Ganga or Guru. What they heard was brainwashed. Went crazy. Joined a cult. I mean, it just, like every time I said the word God, I could feel my mother's blood pressure rise. Now, for me, it was an extraordinary experience. I was transformed on the inside. But every time I said those words, immediately they felt like, oh my God, she's deeper into the brainwashing, deeper into the cult, deeper into this, gone more crazy. And so what I learned was, okay, let's say that my highest truth is what we can call A. A means God, Guru, Ganga, divine experience. But every time I speak A, they hear C. C is brainwashed, gone crazy, kidnapped, cult. You can think of C for cult. All of that. Now, if I kept speaking A, knowing that they couldn't hear A and knowing that when I speak A, they hear C, I'm no longer speaking truth. You hear that? It's really subtle, but it's really important because a lot of us are like, well, it's true. But if I know that my truth, for example, let's say the person that you're going to say this to is someone who's very insecure, someone who's a people pleaser, someone who has major abandonment issues, and you say, I feel like sometimes you don't listen to me fully. For example, it's just an example. But what that person hears is, oh my God, they hate me, they're leaving me. Now, that's not what you've said. All you've said is, I think, I would feel so much happier if you would listen more. Or I feel like sometimes you don't necessarily take my opinion into consideration. I'm just making up something that might be something that you would want to share with someone. But if you know that that person is going to panic because they're so insecure and they have so much fear and abandonment issues that every time you say that, they're going to hear, oh my God, I'm being abandoned. Oh my God, they're leaving me. Well, then it is neither kind nor beneficial nor even true to speak. But here's the beautiful solution. Between A and C, there's B. And for me, B was the seva. I also loved and was so touched and inspired and transformed by the children, by the schools, by the women we were working with and building. And if I said that to my parents, these kids, these schools, these women, these centers, they could hear that because I had always been like that. And what I realized was that speaking B, even though it wasn't my highest truth of A, of God and Ganga and Guru, it was closer to my truth than C, which is what they heard when I spoke A. And that therefore for me, speaking B was actually the choice of truth. And so, if you need that person to know something, say it. But make sure that you're saying it in a way that they can hear it. And if not, amend what you're saying so they can hear. Don't be content with just, it's true. And last point is, a lot of us have a lot of people in our life. I would imagine all of us have people in our life to whom we would like to say a lot of things. But we know they're not going to hear it. They're not going to take it well. They're certainly not going to change based on what I say. And all it's going to do is lead to more conflict, aggression, rifts. Don't say it. There's no point. You're not achieving anything. I grew up in the world of truth at all costs. But when I came to India, I learned, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't benefit anybody. So really make sure that whatever you're saying is something that can be heard, and whoever you're saying it to is someone who is able and willing and ready and open to hear. Because a lot of people don't want to hear anything about themselves. The slightest insinuation that may be, hey, is enough to get their defense up, and their defense becomes aggressive. And then suddenly you're on the defensive. And so there's no point. Let it go. Pray for them. Give it to the universe and let it go. Yeah, great question. Other questions here? Yes, please, and then you.
I'm Kopal.
Yeah, can you come just a little closer to the mic so we can...
Is it better now?
A little better.
Okay. So my name is Kopal. I'm from Gurgaon. I want to understand that if someone leaves whom you really love at a time where you don't think was their time, how do you get that faith back? How do you kind of accept that there is somebody who's looking after you and, what he does is for your good? And it's okay for someone like me who's like in their 40s, but how do I explain that to my daughter who's like 13? That dad, so how do you do that, right? Because if you have been doing good, at least in this life, the person was very good, right? And then the circumstances become such that so much misunderstanding happens, and the person doesn't go with the happiness, with the love which he was giving, right? Like my daughters didn't talk to my husband for 6 months before he went, and he loved her like she is his life, right? And so is the case. So why with so much pain?
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. So sorry for your daughter. This is a time and a way in which a lot of people lose faith. When you speak to people who used to be people of faith and have lost faith, very frequently it's around these sorts of things. I believed in God, and then my child, my spouse who was too young. Something happens that seems absolutely in defiance of the idea of a benevolent, good God. And so we lose faith. And this is where it's so important to remember that there's no scripture anywhere in which God says, or in which a guru says, or in which a master says, pray to me, be a good person, and you'll never get sick or die. No one you love will ever get sick or die. Nothing bad will ever happen to you. It's not what we're told. In fact, we're told the opposite. Things will happen. Life will happen. In the Bhagavad Gita, as Bhagwan Krishna is trying to convince Arjun to stand up and fight the war, Arjun says, but I could die. What's more precious to us than our own life? And Arjun was young. I could die. And it's very interesting because Bhagwan Krishna is God. I mean, he knows what's going to happen. It's not like he's, squirming, waiting to see what every day is going to bring. He knows. It's so easy for him to say to Arjun, don't worry. I promise, you're not going to die. But he doesn't. He says, yeah, you might. And it's really interesting because what he's teaching us through Arjun is even when you literally have God as your charioteer, like you are 12 inches from God driving your chariot, you may die on the battlefield. That may be what is written into your karmic package. And Krishna does not say to him, don't worry. I mean, how easy would it have been to say, hey, don't worry. Mehona. I'm with you. I'll take care of things. I'll protect you. I'll make sure you don't die. He doesn't. What he says instead is, who you are will never die. You are the one who is not born, who never changes, who never dies. And all these people you're worried about killing, you can't kill them. You can kill their body. You can fling an arrow at them. But they are not their bodies any more than you're your body. And it's a really interesting teaching because he knows Arjun's not going to die. Why not just assure him it's okay? Because I mean, I obviously can't read his mind, but I think it's because he wants Arjun and us through Arjun to go deeper than just the assurance that our body is not going to die, or just the body of our loved ones isn't going to die. He wants us to understand that even when they do, because they all will at some point, and I guarantee you whatever age it is, it's going to feel too soon. Yes, 40s is very young, unusually young, tragically young. We have people come in here doing the final rites for a child who passed away at 14. It always feels like it's too young. 84 feels too young. 94 feels too young. I was telling the story in here recently about a friend of mine. Their family's prepared to put their 95-year-old mother through chemo because she's got cancer. And it's like, it's never enough. But the teaching is, you're not the body. So what I would encourage you, for yourself and for your daughter, is instead of getting lost in the agony around the drama of the fighting or what the relationship looked like just before he passed, because all that's going to do is make you feel awfully guilty in a way that there is nothing you ever can do anything about. You cannot rewind life. And the last thing you want to do is give that to your daughter to carry with her. Oh my God, I didn't talk to him for 6 months. Maybe he died mad at me. I mean, that is absolutely not something that you want her to carry. But instead, recognize and realize, well, his soul is still here. You've got something to say it. His soul can hear you. What you loved, even when you were fighting, what you loved was not his body but soul. His essence, his content, not just the form. And the essence is still here. The soul is still here. The content is still here. And help your daughter understand that he is still here. Help her understand that her not speaking to him for 6 months did not cause this, did not lead into this, because when we are young, there is a huge tendency for what's called magical thinking, and it's this idea that everything is happening because of me. My parents got divorced, it's because I'm a bad girl. If I were a good girl, my parents would be happy and they wouldn't fight and then they wouldn't get divorced. My mom got sick and died. My dad got sick and died. It's because I was a bad girl. And of course, as an adult, we're like, well, of course not. But to a child's mind, that's very, very salient and very real. And as the mother, the best thing you can do is help her understand he loved you. He knew that you loved him. He died loving you. He died knowing that you loved him. And even today, he can hear in the soul the words that you speak. And so speak them. And really encourage her to connect with him on that level and not to feel like she can't. Because she can. and help her to move through that. And the last piece is, again, there's nothing in the scriptures, in the teachings that says, only bad people die young. In fact, it's almost always the opposite. Almost always the opposite. When people die at a very young age, they are almost always the ones who are just the angels, the ones who are the kind, the generous, the helping ones, every community's Hanuman, that's how it seems to happen. And I think it's because, remember that we're here because we've got karmic work to do. And when our karmic work is done, we leave the body. And those who are so divine and so pure and so wonderful, well, chances are they've got a lot less karmic work to do. They did it all in the past life. They've got maybe just a little bit more stuff to work out. So they came back for 4 years, 14 years, 40 years to work out that remaining karma. But it's not a punishment. It's not a punishment to them. It's not a punishment to you. It's an acknowledgement of actually how much of their work had already been done, how close to divine connection they already were. So celebrate him. Teach your daughter to celebrate him instead of getting lost in the mourning and the guilt. Okay? Yes, please. Oh, sorry, it was you. Yes, sorry about that. Okay. I knew it was from right in that corner.
It's okay. Mataji Shada Charan Sparsh. I am a student of Vedantic Path to Self-Realization, and after attending the Tattva lecture, I am now being introduced to the idea of a formless anti-materiality and the importance of Shraddha, faith. But due to my scientific conditioning, I am finding it difficult to develop that faith, and honestly at times I even feel I am becoming a non-believer, which troubles me. Kindly guide me how I can develop true Shraddha, faith, and become a firm believer in God. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So, for people who are having difficulty attaining faith, seeing the divine, instead of trying to connect with the divine, either by a specific name, a specific form, or by nameless, formless, supreme reality, Brahman, because it's very difficult. It's very difficult to connect with a nameless, formless, all-pervasive, supreme reality. When we're deep, deep in meditation, we can feel it and touch it. But otherwise, moving through the world, playing roles, it's very difficult. But an easier way to begin is connecting with God through the creation. If you love a painter, you're going to love the paintings. I mean, think about it. If you've got kids, and these kids do paintings or pictures in school, even it's just scribbles on construction paper. What do? You frame them, you put them up on the fridge. Now anybody else who looks at it says, oh my God, it's just scribbles. But because you love the artist, you love the artwork. You look at those purple scribbles on a turquoise blue piece of construction paper, and you're like, oh, I love you. So beautiful. Because you love the artist. Start connecting with the creation. The stars in the sky, the sunrise, the sunset. Allow yourself to connect on that level. The beauty, love, look at trees, hug trees, Put your bare feet in the dirt, in the water, in the sand. Connect with the presence of a creator and the sacredness in the creation. As you do that, that connection will come back. If it's not able to happen when just your eyes are closed, do it eyes open. Behold this beautiful piece of art and allow yourself to see the artist in the artwork. Great. Yes. Yes. Oh, you have to, yes. Get plugged in.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm Gabriel. I'm from Brazil.
Wonderful.
And first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing you to participate in this cult, to be kidnapped, getting crazy. My question is, being a Swami, you probably have a lot of experience with the ego, right? To work with. And that's what is, can you share with us and help us to understand how to control this I who wants to be the best, who wants to be the God in everything?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. So here's what I have found on a personal level in terms of dealing with ego and any other unwanted parts of yourself. Don't try to think about it as controlling it. Because no one and nothing wants to be controlled or subdued. And the minute that you say, I'm going to control my ego, the ego's inside listening, going, yeah, I'll see you, buddy. And then it just gets stronger. And then it just gets more conniving. Instead, what I have, on a personal level, learned and developed over all of the years is, can I coexist? Can we coexist? Okay, my ego is there, absolutely. But can I notice it, see it, not give it the metaphoric keys or steering wheel to my car, not let it drive my life, not put it in charge of my tongue or my hands, what I say, what I do, but not try to annihilate it. So there's nothing in my mind that's like, today is the day that I annihilate the ego. Because then, of course, the ego is going to hear it and be like, I don't think so. And it's going to play some kind of trick on me, do something to make sure that I get so stuck in something else that I forget I was supposed to annihilate my ego that day. Just allow it to be there. What I find is when it arises, when I notice it, it's just like, oh, how interesting. Here you are. But what you also develop over the years is the more mature, more deep, more spiritual, more true aspects of yourself. And I don't just mean soul. I mean the actual aspects of our intellect, our spiritual way of thinking, our ways of understanding, gyan, wisdom. And so when the ego rises, you can see it, acknowledge it, notice it, smile at it, but not believe it. You know, for me, I think about my ego as one of those crazy guys on a street corner, like shouting all kinds of obscenities at kind of anybody who walks by. And you walk by and this guy's on the corner, drunk or on drugs or mentally unhinged, and shouting and telling you that you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that and calling you all kinds of names. Now, you don't get deeply upset by it. You don't go and try to bash the guy's head in. You don't have to get yourself into therapy because you were so upset by what the guy told you. Because we understand, oh, it's just the crazy drunk guy on the corner. Or, it's the guy who escaped from the institution, until they find him. There he is on our corner. And you know that what he says isn't true. You know that it's all about him, not all about you. And so you just walk by. Maybe you cross the street so you don't have to really engage. But you're even able to feel compassion for him. You certainly don't think about annihilating him. You'd never go home and get a shotgun and come back and blow his head off. Right? I mean, you understand he's unhinged. Chemically so in some way. It's all right, let him be. Just, don't give him the keys to your car or your house. In the same way, I feel like my ego's like that guy. Kind of unhinged, ranting and raving to anyone who will listen, but having really no bearing in actual truth or reality. Reciting lines from scripts of scenes and acts of life that took place decades ago. I also sometimes think of my ego as like an out-of-work actor who used to have a part in a play, but the play long since closed up, the theaters become, a bookstore instead, but the actor just can't get over the fact that his shining days are over, and so now he stands on the street corner reciting his lines to everybody. And I also think of my ego sometimes like that, just shouting lines that I heard when I was 5 or 7 or 12, or ways of thinking or ways of understanding that have no bearing in reality whatsoever. They didn't then, they certainly don't now. But it was a role that was given to me, some lines that were spoken to me at a specific scene in a specific act of my life's drama. And that the ego just hasn't learned to move on. It's still stuck there. And that on a deep psychological, psychoanalytic level is exactly true. I mean, the trouble of the ego is exactly on a deep level that it is stuck in a drama from decades ago. It played a role, it had lines, other people had lines, but life has moved on. But the ego hasn't. And so it literally is like this out-of-work actor just standing in front of where his theater used to be, reciting his lines. And so when I hear that ego speak, I try to have compassion and understand, hey, you're just shouting what you learned how to say, 45 years ago, 50 years ago. You're playing a role that was given to you at that time, projected upon you by other people's roles, other people's scripts. Who you think you are, what you think you need, what you think you want. And you just notice it. Smile. But, one of the most common things that I find myself saying to my ego these days is, so nice to see you. Thank you so much for dropping by. It's been a while, but I actually have other plans for today. Right? Just you notice it, then you move on. We will start tomorrow with your question. Is that good? Are you here tomorrow? Wonderful. So tomorrow you'll raise your hand first and we will. I'm sorry? You'll ask me tomorrow. Perfect. Done. So much love to all of you. A beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining from online. And so much love to you all, and I look so forward to being together.